sorry, since I'm using other slide. Okay, good morning. I'm Dejan Alamu. I will present a paper on understanding the agricultural knowledge management system development for the integration of indigenous and science of Murai Janix from San Diego University and Dr. Tantum Asafa from Addis Ababa University. And this will be the contents that I'm going to present. The motivation, the literature review, the theoretical framework, methodology, result and discussion, and then at the end, some conclusion and recommendation will be provided. And the motivation behind this paper is like today, different knowledge management systems are developed for different aspects of human life, including agriculture. And knowledge has been received much attention as an enabler of the social economic development. And in agriculture, broadly, there are two broad knowledge systems: the indigenous knowledge systems and the scientific knowledge systems. And local communities, the local rural communities possess the accumulated indigenous knowledge, which is very important for the local communities for various decision making. But the problem is like the indigenous knowledge today are not fully explored and largely remains invisible. So there is a great risk of losing this indigenous knowledge. Therefore, much attention has been required for the documentation and management of indigenous knowledge. However, the current knowledge management approach and the knowledge management system development emphasize on the scientific knowledge, which overlook the role of the indigenous knowledge. As a result, the knowledge management system today are aligned to the local communities, but they are developed to support the local rural community. And this indigenous knowledge alone is not enough to support the local community. Therefore, this indigenous knowledge and the scientific knowledge needs to be integrated, for the success of agricultural knowledge management systems, and to recognize and support the local communities. Again, if the local communities are being participated in their indigenous knowledge are recognized, the ID system can best fit to the rural community. But literatures has indicated that there is no clearly developed framework for the knowledge integration. So there is an indication which appeal for the readdressing of the knowledge management system. Therefore, the main research question in this research is how can the indigenous knowledge be shared and best integrated with the main scientific knowledge in agricultural knowledge management system. Therefore, the aim of this research is to develop a conceptual framework for better understanding for the integration of the indigenous knowledge and scientific knowledge in agricultural knowledge management system, and to recommend the design of the knowledge management system. And the knowledge is the key organizational asset in organizations, that is a resource which is difficult to access, capture, and disseminate. In particular, the knowledge is generally divided into the tacit knowledge and the explicit knowledge. And the explicit knowledge is systematically documented and which can be easily transferred, whereas the tacit knowledge refers to the knowledge in the mind of human being and the knowledge embedded in organizational routines, which is difficult to transfer. And the indigenous knowledge has mostly the tacit format, which is difficult to transfer and share, whereas most of the scientific research are documented and easily transferred. And the external research indicated that the reality is that this research has developed a systematic way of transferring the indigenous knowledge, and specifically in agricultural knowledge management system, how the two knowledge systems are being integrated is not yet addressed. And this research outlined the situated learning in community of practice in order to understand the integration of the scientific and the indigenous knowledge. And the theory provide that the concept of the community of practice, which is the informal aggregation of individuals, and the theory provide a social infrastructure and view knowledge as a socially constructed rather than viewing knowledge as an object entity. Therefore, this theory is very important to understand how the knowledge embedded in human mind and the knowledge embedded in object can be transferred. And the theory provides three basic concepts. One is the community of practice, like in system development, there can be various community of practice having common goal. For example, in agricultural knowledge management system, there are rural communities who process the indigenous knowledge system, and there are scientific research who will process the scientific knowledge and practice, and there are system developers. And those community of practice need to work together in order to provide a comprehensive knowledge management system. And this community of practice should work together, should collaborate for their common goal. And to provide the interaction and collaboration, the theory further provide a concept of knowledge brokering. And the knowledge brokering denotes the activities of individual that involves facilitating the connection among this community of practice and it can also bridge the knowledge boundary among the different community of practice. And in agricultural knowledge management system, there are extension agents who are responsible for the knowledge transfer from the scientific research to the rural community. But those agricultural extension agents are limited only to transfer knowledge from the scientific research to the local community. But they have a potential to exchange knowledge among the rural community with the scientific community in two directions. So this research is interested in identifying the role and the practice of those extension agents for knowledge exchanging. And in addition, the theory provides the concept of boundary objects, and this is like any object, like ideas, documents, information systems, which will be relevant to the practice of multiple community of practice. And it is very important to support collaboration, interaction, and knowledge brokering or knowledge exchanging among the different community of practice who are interested in the agricultural knowledge management systems. And in addition, like this research will also align these concepts with the practice, because information systems research will not only address the theoretical aspects, but they are also linked with practice. Therefore, by employing the system development, the theory or the basic research will be aligned with the practice. And the methodology adopted for this research includes a qualitative interpretative research, and the specific approach followed is a system development action research. And it is a comprehensive methodology that incorporates concept development, the theory building, like using the community of practice, the knowledge brokering, and the boundary object, and then those concepts will empirically further investigated, relying on the initial conceptual framework, and in order to align this basic research with the practice, system will be developed. And then further concepts will be derived by observing this knowledge management system in the social context. But this paper is limited only on the 3 phases, like initial concepts were coined, and by relying on this initial concept, empirically, further empirical investigation were conducted, and recommendation is suggested for the design of agricultural knowledge management system. And the data is collected by employing the in-depth semi-structured interview, participant observation, and a case study were conducted, like by taking the agricultural knowledge management system development in Ethiopia, and there is an organization called the Agricultural Transformation Agency today, which is responsible for developing different agricultural knowledge management system, like the ETOSIS and the hotline 802-28, and 2 district area from North Gondar zone were taken in order to access the local communities. And the research subject includes the local farmers, the researchers, and the extension agents who are responsible for transferring knowledge among the relevant community of practice. And in total, 23 informants were interviewed and observed. And the data analysis were conducted by interpreting the view of those subjects. And the results includes the role in the practice of the relevant social groups in agricultural knowledge management system, and the research identified three relevant community of practice or social groups, including the agricultural researchers who possess scientific research and practice, the local farmers who possess the indigenous knowledge and use also the result of the scientific research from the researcher groups, and extension agents who are responsible for transferring knowledge from agricultural researcher to the local communities. And like in the current agricultural development, these extension agents are only responsible for transferring knowledge from research to the local communities. But the research has identified the role in the practice of the extension agents for knowledge exchanging among the relevant community of practice by using like the bidirectional communication and interaction. And the research identified this role in practice of extension agents for integrating and sharing the different knowledge systems, including the position of extension agents. They are positioned in between the different community of practice for exchanging knowledge. Again, through crossing different the boundary of community of practice, they can enhance the participation so that the local community can participate in different endeavors of agricultural development. Again, they can also exchange, translate and interpret knowledge among the different relevant community of practice, not only in language, but they can also interpret the knowledge in different specific local community situations. Again, they can also enhance the networking, because it is very important for knowledge exchanging. And there are different formal and informal social groups in agricultural development. Like usually in local communities, we will find the informal community, and in agricultural researcher, there are formal communities. Therefore, extension agents as a knowledge broker can mediate the network formation among those community of practice. And agricultural development, including the agricultural knowledge management system development, is a collective action, so that the working togetherness or the interaction among different social groups need to be coordinated, so that the extension agent can coordinate collaboration and negotiation among the relevant community of practice in agricultural knowledge management system development. And the research has also identified the boundary objectives possessed by different social groups, which are important for knowledge exchanging. And it has identified a wide range of boundary objectives. For example, the scientific community use, like the ETOCs, the mobile hotline, like the 8028 different guidelines, report printout, publication, and websites for knowledge exchanging. And the local farmers utilize observation, storytelling, oral mapping for knowledge exchange. But the problem in the agricultural knowledge management system development is the boundary object possessed by the local communities are not considered. So this will negate and destroy the sacred indigenous knowledge, and the research recommend to develop a shared knowledge management system through involving the boundary objectives and the role and the practice of different relevant social groups. And the boundary object should be flexible and adaptable, because like it's very difficult to capture, for example, the indigenous knowledge during the development of agricultural knowledge management system. Therefore, the system should be flexible so that the user can also incorporate their knowledge during the use of the knowledge management system. And the system can be developed using the Web 2 technology, and in the dynamics of the interplay of the boundary object and the role and the practice of the extension agents can bring shared understanding, and this shared understanding is a prerequisite for the knowledge exchanging, so that knowledge can be integrated, even new knowledge can be created. And these are the contributions for the research. Theoretically, the research provides a conceptual framework for the development and the use of agricultural knowledge management system development, and concepts like the community of practice, the boundary object, and the knowledge brokering role can also extend the literatures in the knowledge management and knowledge management system development. Methodologically, the system development approach can link the basic research with applied research, and practically it's important for the integration of the knowledge systems in agriculture. Again, it can also support and recognize the knowledge of the local farmers so that they can participate in the development effort, and socially at large can also be benefited from this conceptual framework. And the potential of the extension agent as a knowledge broker can also be used as an input for the policy makers in agriculture, researchers and other relevant users. Thank you. Sorry, I'm rushing.
Integrating indigenous agricultural knowledge in knowledge management system. One, two questions.
Thank you for having this opportunity. I think research is always good to see what we haven't seen in normal life. Anyway, I think this research is somehow not in timely to reach what's happening in the in our country in general. Indigenous knowledge is sometimes very important, as you already mentioned there. But what we are currently observing in the countryside is that almost indigenous knowledge is dying out because of these development agents. They are only imparting or introducing only scientific knowledge, and these indigenous knowledge holders or elder peoples are disappearing because of age or different reasons, and sometimes there is no possibility to again reverse and get this knowledge that is very important to the future generation. We can see that scientific knowledge sometimes improve the production in increasing and so on, but when we see to the ecosystem and the natural or just preserving nature, sometimes it is more difficult to make it that is important. I can give an example. For example, if you communicate with farmers, they will tell you that these honeymaker bees are almost disappearing because of these pesticides. When they try to collect their ingredients from flowers, they will die because of these pesticides, and almost they are disappearing. The other is natural fertilizers and what we call scientific fertilizers. I have an example. I have relatives in the countryside that was trying to introduce this natural fertilizer and using or preventing scientific and trying to use his own method, indigenous knowledge to cultivate, but he was forced to use the scientific, and I have this information that there are such information everywhere. Therefore, unless this paper or this research is sometimes absorbed by the absorbed by authorities or whatever who is responsible in terms of agriculture, what's going to be its use? Now, as I said, almost we are losing everything or losing our indigenous knowledge. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
The second one, okay, please.
Okay. First, I would like to appreciate all your academicians. You are interested to submit your paper to contribute for information technology development, and also the information technology adding a value for our country's agricultural development. So also I would like to thank the presenter about the knowledge management system. Also, as we know, the explicit and implicit knowledge are documented and knowledge on people's mind. So still have a doubt, there is a gap to accelerate, to convert or to merge indigenous knowledge with scientific knowledge. Also, the paper not putting the solution. How can we accelerate to convert or to merge indigenous knowledge with scientific knowledge? Also, for many period of time, for many period of years, peoples, especially farmers who involving on agricultural activity, taking an action to use their indigenous knowledge. Also, there's a gap. The agents of agricultural extension peoples have a doubt how they are transferring the information or the know-how to develop their clue to convert their indigenous knowledge to scientific. So what's the contribution of your paper to accelerate or to change the farmers' know-how to follow or to attend this scientific way, or to use a modern to use a modern knowledge management system, or to convert or just to change their indigenous knowledge to modern way? So what's your comment or what's your recommendation? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and I will start with the second question, which is how aspect, like how the indigenous knowledge is going to be converted and being integrated with scientific knowledge. And research emphasizes the process. It provides the process conceptual framework, because it is very difficult, since the indigenous knowledge has got a tacit format and it's in the mind of human being and integrated in different objects. It's very challenging to extract and share it with others. But in order to do this process, like, we need to understand how the farmers process or perform their activity and share knowledge with other colleagues and with other generations. Like, the gap in the literature is, like, they will try to take their indigenous knowledge through interview and so on, but it's very difficult. But if we understand how they share their knowledge, it may be easier or to share and document and preserve their knowledge. For example, like, in order to transfer their knowledge, they make use of different demonstrations, observation, storytelling, and so on. So this has to be enhanced so that, like, their knowledge can be exposed to the other and being integrated with scientific knowledge. For example, like, the extension agents will closely work with the local farmers. They will demonstrate the scientific technology and knowledge. Again, they will also demonstrate and advise while they practice the scientific knowledge and technology. They also see when they apply the different indigenous knowledge and agricultural practice during their farming. But the problem is, like, the extension agents are there only to transfer or deploy the knowledge from the scientific research to the local community. And their potential to exchange or to transfer knowledge from the local communities to the agricultural researcher or system developers are still, like, not yet fully addressed, but they have got this potential. Therefore, like, if they, since they are working together with local communities, they know how they share the knowledge, and they also see, like, how when they practice their indigenous knowledge, so through the support of the knowledge management system, like, their practice can be integrated with the scientific knowledge in the knowledge management system. Today, for example, we have the Web 2 technology, which enhance the two or the bidirectional communications. Therefore, like, the information systems developed in agriculture is, like, supported with the Web 2 technologies. Extension agents can link or provide the indigenous knowledge in that specific local community or community of practice, can also, like, integrate it in the knowledge repository of the knowledge management system. Again, there are also different objectives which may be important in that specific social community, which is used to align the different communities, again, used for the knowledge sharing. Therefore, that object in the specific context can also be integrated in the knowledge repository of the knowledge management system. And in order to answer the second question, like, almost the indigenous knowledge in different aspects of human life is today being fed, and there is also a grave risk, like, all those indigenous knowledge made lost. But in the case of the agriculture, still in different areas of this country, the indigenous knowledge and the indigenous practice are being used. In agriculture, for example, for soil treatment, farmers are using different indigenous knowledge and practices, including the manure and other techniques. And today, even the scientific research are also acknowledging and recognizing giving recognition like for this indigenous knowledge and practice. They are also like taking the lesson learned from different farmers and being transferring to the other local communities. So still like in agriculture, there are many indigenous knowledge. For example, in this research, different indigenous knowledge and practice for soil fertility, treatment and conservation have been identified. So like those indigenous knowledge can be like still documented and then being integrated with scientific knowledge in the knowledge management and be reused for the local communities. Still there is a potential.
Okay, have you addressed the first question?
Yeah, this is right.
Satisfied? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I think there's no more question. So we'll break for tea. Tea will be served on the other side of the hall, the left side. And we'll have only 20 minutes for tea break and then come back again here in order to hear the next 3 papers.
Okay, thank you for listening. No?
ተሰብራለች ነው
ግማሹን ነው የሚያሳይ።
የዚህ እንትን ባትሪ